We believe this was an isolated, targeted attack. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community.
These murders have shaken us to our very core.
Remaining open with flexibility to leave allows our students to decide what is best for them.
There's all these conspiracy theories out there, and we have so little facts. And Ann Taylor blasted everybody in the media, including us YouTubers. People are talking about our channel, and here's what you, the commenters, have to say about us.
Let's go take a look. While I was out of office, you guys had a lot to say about Andrew's video with Lucky. I'm Lainey Law.
And I'm attorney Andrew Myers.
So some of you may know I recently had my tonsils removed, so I wasn't here for a little bit, but we are back in action and we are going to go take a look at some of what you guys had to say about the Kohberger case on one of our recent videos. So as usual, we pulled out some comments to get a read on how people are feeling and to see people's opinions. It's interesting, I think, kind of reading and seeing the back and forth. We always have a lot of debates in our comments, but we had some spicy stuff going on in this one. Starting off a little bit mild, we have Christine. I'm not saying Brian Kohberger is innocent or guilty, but what I am saying is that he's involved in something he shouldn't be in Idaho in some capacity. How they picked him as the patsy or had him involved. I mean, they picked him before they had his car. Like, why him? They knew his name somehow, What do you think about? Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting comment. There's all these conspiracy theories out there, and we have so little facts. And Ann Taylor blasted everybody in the media, including us YouTubers, for being inflammatory and outrageous and inaccurate. And well, if you hadn't have put on a gag order, maybe we'd have more facts to disseminate. But this is what happens. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Washington State University Police had a Hyundai Elantra back in late November of 2022. That tip was given to the Moscow police, and by the testimony of the officers in a hearing, they either ignored it willingly or just let it go. So we don't know. We really don't know. They picked him before they had his car. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, Kohberger or the car? I appreciate the thought. I appreciate the comment. I really do. But we just, we don't know, do we?
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, it's an interesting thought to have, but to say like they picked him before they had the car, it's just like we can't really verify that. We really, like you said, because of the gag order, we don't have the pieces. And so we don't actually know what exactly led. We hear the white Elantra, the white Elantra, the white Elantra. Was it the white Elantra? Is it because they pulled him over? There's really no way of telling, but
How come they have all these videos of this other white car and they're blurry? And yeah, I know people tell us in the comment, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Yeah, we've seen it, but it's a blurry car backing around. And as Lucky said, it's a university town. 3 o'clock in the morning isn't all that, 4 o'clock in the morning isn't all that late. Having been a college student, it could be somebody looking for their boyfriend or girlfriend. It could be somebody looking for drugs. It could be somebody delivering a pizza. I mean, we don't know. We have no idea. But you know what? Until we see, with all that video that they have, I see video of, a car backing up to 1122 and somebody getting out of it and going in, I don't know what to think. That's what I think of that.
And I agree with that too, because it's just like, we see this white car, but we really have no idea how, even I'm not entirely sure of the connection, like you said, until we see it backing up into the building itself. Like, do we even know? It's just like there's so many cameras that are accessible and, easy to find, but at the same time, just because it's in the area too, but we have no way of knowing as of right now. Now, you
Thanks,
made a good
Christine.
Yeah, you made a
Jane.
good point, Andrew, and I'll let you read this next comment. But your point that you had made was that we don't have all the pieces yet, which kind of
No.
ties into this next comment, which is from Phil, if you want to read it.
Oh, they have not released everything, you weirdos. I saw that. This PCA does not have to include all the evidence. You weirdos. Well, all right.
Well, I think this is a really great comment to demonstrate, like, because you said you saw it, and it's like, obviously, we have it here. It's like, you weirdos. It's like, Andrew always says, don't personalize it. And he's all weirdos. And he's like, whatever, let it go, So we don't
Yeah, but
write with an iron hammer.
the substantive comment here, the PCA does not have to include all the evidence, is true. And at the same time, though, they are trying to get permission to slam into the Koberger home 2,500 miles away in Pennsylvania with flashbangs rather than arrest him quietly on the street like they did with the Long Island serial killer in the middle of the day in Manhattan. They just walked up to him and slapped the cuffs on. Very nice. So in the probable cause affidavit, they're trying to get a warrant to go in the middle of the night in Pennsylvania and bang into his house do this crazy thing, which, by the way, we've never seen video of. How come, law enforcement? Why haven't we seen video of that? But anyhow, I digress. And the point is that you've got to put your best foot forward if you're law enforcement. And yes, it's true. You only need to obtain probable cause. But what they were trying to do was something really invasive and really extreme and really explosive so I would tend to think that they would have had to have put their best foot forward in that probable cause affidavit. And from reading it, it just seems like they were grasping at straws. So it doesn't have to include all the evidence. Correctamundo, but it should have put their best foot forward at that point, and it didn't.
Yeah. And that, you make a really good point with that, which is, if you're going to go and do something intense, you gotta make sure, like you said, have all the ducks in a row, make sure that everything is sorted. Because it's just like, God, God forbid, is just like, this happens to you just because you have the same type of car or something like that. Is just like, a lot of people think this could never be me, but there's a lot of times where innocent people get found convicted incorrectly. So they had it, like Andrew said, is just like, it's in everybody's best interest to be very clear and to really have good reason. And and we've talked about in the past how touch DNA, there's a lot of different elements with that. Now I have from user, seems so much was going on in this town, hard to believe was this one, seemingly one random guy. And we've talked about it before, with the church in the town and just all the craziness going on. Jack, with his little tendencies going on. It's hard, I think. And one of the things too, with, I believe it was the Daybell case, also was in Idaho. Coming from a relatively small town in New York, I can attest in that case that there was a lot of drug activity. And I feel like a big reason for it is that when you have kind of these isolated communities, which, there was a little bit more going on in this area in particular, because it was a college town. But I think, when you have nothing going on in the town, people get bored, people get crazy. Crazy stuff happens. I think also in a city, there's so much chaos going around that it's easy to overlook it. But you never know what happens in these small towns. And we're not from there. We don't, we can't attest to what the people are like or anything. And there's obviously great people there, and there's obviously not great characters there. I think it's just that when the population is so much smaller, I think it's a little bit more standouty to have a little bit of craziness.
Absolutely. Next. Oh, wait. What?
I switched it.
Cell phones are not evidence of where the crimes happened. The whole thing probably staged. Don't know by whom, But as Lucky said, a lot of work went into this whole thing. Yeah, the cell phones don't necessarily say where the crime happened. You don't always have your cell phone with you. I don't have my cell phone with me up right now. It's upstairs, but still, I mean, it's true. I've forgotten my cell phone. I've gone to the gym and left my cell phone on my desk. So whether whoever committed this crime left their cell phone or didn't leave their cell phone, or, we're all so focused on this Cyree character, and we're also focused on the fact that Brian Koberger's cell phone was turned off. Well, what cell phones were active inside of the house? And yeah, I know we have been told that Dylan and Bethany were texting back and forth, but what other cell phones were in that area? I mean, I haven't really heard or seen or read about that a whole lot, and I would like to. But yeah. Thank you, M. Stokes.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you and Stokes in the sense where it's just like not only is the cell phones not indicative of where the crime happened. I mean, they can contain a lot of information. Just because a crime happened doesn't mean that the perpetrator brought their phone, and just because there was a phone in the area doesn't mean that they're the perpetrator. I'm definitely very curious to see, not, maybe curious isn't the right word, but maybe interested in knowing if we'll ever get any information on what the victims were doing at the time, because if anything's going to be indicative as to what was happening, it would be, the victims' cell phones. Were they online? Were they fully asleep? There's a lot of information out there, but...
Well, yeah, that's what I've kind of talked about before. People are on their phones all the time now. And so I was saying, look at Kaylee and Maddie when they were at the food truck. They had their cell phones. They were taking pictures. Then they went home and they called Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, how many times? Many times. So they had their cell phones with them. And did they just stop using them? Had they fallen asleep? Were they, it's just, so there's a lot more to the story that we don't know. We the previous commenter was right. The PCA doesn't have everything and we don't know. So that's the deal.
Yeah. And another thing too, I mean, I'm not the kind of person to do this. I'm not a iPhone squad, and I feel like voice memos and voice notes are pretty iPhone user energy, but even stuff like that is just like, are they sending text messages with their voices? Is there any messages that were left half sent? You never know.
Never know.
All right, so next one, Joey. To indicate the prosecution has no real evidence is premature and just straight up false. If they didn't have any evidence, they wouldn't have arrested him. I can promise you that. Also, why would it be impossible for one person to do it? These people just aren't thinking. This is a hot take. These are a lot of hot takes in here. I wonder, and I want to see what people in the comments have to say. You can comment about our comments. We could go on an infinite loop with this. But why would it be impossible? Oh my God, I don't know. I couldn't do it, obviously, for a lot of reasons.
Well, the thing about this comment is kind of an interesting. It talks about America. It talks about the confirmation bias that we all have. It talks about how to communicate. I mean, just because someone does not agree with you doesn't mean that these people aren't thinking. There are a lot of intelligent people with all kinds of degrees, not that really means anything, that are questioning the law enforcement line. So just because people don't agree doesn't mean that they're not thinking. I mean, I've seen people on both sides of this case, both people that really think he's guilty and that's it, case closed, and people that say, no, he's not guilty, case closed. And I've seen people on both sides of it saying, oh, you're stupid, or you're not thinking, or you. So yeah, guess what? They are thinking, and they're thinking a lot, and they're taking what is out there in the probable cause affidavit and what's kind of leaked out during these hearings. For example, the attorneys on both sides saying he wasn't stalking, and other things that have leaked out, and they're putting it all together, and it doesn't fit together in a puzzle. It doesn't fit together. It's like going to the store and buying a puzzle, and they mixed 4 different puzzles together. The pieces don't mix. And so, yeah, they are thinking. So that's my comment on that comment. I appreciate the fact that someone is commenting, but don't always assume that your opponent isn't thinking, because maybe they are thinking.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point there too, saying that a lot of people with all types of degrees and not necessarily having a degree necessarily means that much, but you have a lot of well-educated people and you have attorneys, plenty of attorneys online that are following through this and going through this, and God bless your souls, because in no universe could I ever be an attorney. When we first started, people kept thinking I was one, and I'm very flattered, but oh my God, could I never go through all the education and reading that you have to do on a daily
Piece
basis?
of cake. Piece of cake.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, this is why I like computer science. I have computers do my thinking and learning for me, so I don't
There
have to
you
do
go.
the thinking.
There you go.
But I even just, I mean, I think and I finish up with this, but I think that just the fact is like, why would it be impossible for one person to do this? It's just like, everybody, like, is there
Mm-mm.
really anybody
Mm-mm.
watching this right now that wouldn't think that if somebody came at you, even if you were off guard, that you would put up a fight? I mean, ultimately, like, because really, it's just like, in order to not have any type of struggle, it would have to be done so quick, and like you'd have to be caught so off guard. Go holy ninja. I can't even imagine.
Well, Kathy Maybett, the coroner, said that the different stab wounds and slashes didn't match. They just did
Mm-hmm.
not match. Ethan Chapin was a young, athletic, tough guy. And no, I'm sorry. I am thinking that there's just no way that one person could have like somehow orchestrated these knife attacks on 4 people. And
In
it
under
just
20 minutes.
and I think when we did the timeline and we zeroed in on the timeline and we really and we pulled it apart, more like 8 to 12 minutes when you really think about it. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
needed time to get out of his car and go into the place and go up the stairs and go down the stairs. And I'm thinking that there's no way one person did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, obviously between a guy and a girl, there's physical differences, but I don't know. I'm scrappy, and they were all young kids. I imagine they'd have some level of just not, having some natural instinct to fight back. But
Yeah.
anyway, next one is from Jennifer, if you would like to read it.
Jennifer Cornelius, after they put out the be on the lookout for a white Hyundai Elantra, is when Brian Koberger went to Washington State Motor Vehicle and finally registered his car to get a license plate from Washington and have a plate in the front and the back. Pennsylvania does not have a front plate, only a back plate. Very suspicious to me. Yeah, when I was a kid, first started driving, and I still have my Pennsylvania driver's license plate hanging up in my garage.
Aw.
And to this day, they only require a rear plate in Pennsylvania. So I always thought that was odd, though, when I moved up to Massachusetts to go to college, those many years ago, that you need 2 license plates. So I'm thinking that maybe the taxpayers are smarter down in Pennsylvania. I don't know, but anyhow, yeah, that's a good point there, Jennifer. That it was only after they put the be on the lookout out that he did go and reread. If you're a student, you're supposed to do that anyhow. But how many students do that? If you drive around Boston, which has umpteen, universities, colleges, institutions of higher learning, you see license plates from everywhere. So even though you're supposed to change the registration, and I'm sure it's the same in Washington State where he lived, students just don't get around to it. And how are the police going to go around and enforce every single car? How many cars are there in metropolitan Greater Boston? A kabillion. And so, so anyhow, but that's a good point, Jennifer. That's a good point. That he did only change it. I don't know if it's the smoking gun, but it's a point. It's, when cases are tried, you have a lot of different pieces that go together to establish, beyond all reasonable doubt. And that's one piece. That's one little piece, but it would have to fit together with a lot of other pieces.
Yeah, and you have a really good point too with the college towns and stuff like that. Like, you're
Yeah.
supposed to do it, but I can promise you, around my school's parking lot, there's a million and one different, maybe not
Yeah.
a million and one different states, but a lot of different cars.
Hey, I thought that there were only 50 states. When did the United States get a million and one different states?
My counting might be off, and we maybe have less than half of those states, but we certainly have a pleasant smorgasbord.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I pulled two from Paige. She left a couple of comments. When I grabbed these two, murder has no statute of limitations. There's no reason for prosecutors not to have all their T's crossed and I's dotted. Always been my question: how did one person complete the attacks in no blood and or DNA in the getaway car? And Paige is on the similar mindset of me, where it's like, how could one person do this? And also, that I thought the no statute of limitations, not having the T's and I's crossed and dotted, was also a pretty interesting point too. And I wanted to hear kind of your perspective on that.
Well, it's true. It's true. There's no,
Mhm.
I think it's the only thing in which there's no statute of limitations. Everything else has a limitation period on how long prosecutors have to bring the charges. And, criminals, people that do stuff wrong, kind of, if they're thinking, and maybe they are, maybe they're not, I don't know that after a certain amount of time goes by, that's it. But that's why there are cold cases that people, rejuvenate every now and then, because that's true, Paige,
Mhm.
that there's no statute of limitations. But, and it's a big but, prosecutors, whether they are elected or appointed by elected people, there's pressure, not only political, but community pressure after there's something horrible like this that happens to, solve the case. And in this case, we did another episode in which we discussed, all the pressure that was out there on the law enforcement community out in Moscow, Idaho, that and we've talked about it before, that these crimes happen right around the middle of November of 2022, and for 6 weeks over the Thanksgiving holiday and every week leading up to the new year. Why isn't something happening? Why is there not a suspect? Why aren't we hearing that there are arrests? What's going on? So there's pressure. So I agree with you, Paige, that there's no statute of limitations, but who wants to wait? And some of the families, notably, I think the Gonsalveses, felt that they didn't want the case to go cold. So,
Uh-huh.
you know,
And
my go ahead. My one of my connectors just almost fell on the floor.
no worries. And how you were saying not wanting the case to go cold, and also not only just that, but we talked about it in a previous episode of how if you lived in that town, you kind of rely on him being the perpetrator in order to, like Andrew said, it's like, to feel safe. It's just like, why is there, like, what's going on? Why are there no leads? It's like, how are you going to sleep at night if you think that um somebody's going through your town and committing atrocious crimes? I think that the level of safety is very important for the community. And kind
Yep.
of following up a Soul Shine for Jesus Christ, did you want to read this one, Andrew?
Oh, sure. I truly believe they went after BK was to hurry up and get the case heading to court with a guilty person, so the college wouldn't lose any money nor incoming students for the new college year. This is my personal opinion. Yeah, a lot of people have said the same thing. A lot of people have said the same thing, and a lot of people have also felt that one of the kind of unseemly reasons that Scott Green, the president of the University of Idaho, put his thumb on the law enforcement so early on, going to meetings twice a day or sending his person there, was because he didn't want the university to lose any money. I guess when he first took over the presidency of the University of Idaho, it was on not the strongest of financial footing, and he had spent some time shoring it up. So yeah, I agree with you, Soul Sunshine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely agree with that. I mean, ultimately, I'm sure the college did take a hit to some level because of all this. I'm sure, no, I don't really know how often people were wanting, dreaming of going to this school, but when you hear about this happening, I'm sure everybody's very taken aback and would be very reasonably nervous to go to a school like this. So definitely a possibility. So Linda Raymond says something that was a very big point of contention I don't know if I want to say point of contention because I think pretty much everybody watching our channel agrees with this viewpoint. They shouldn't have destroyed any evidence before the trial. They're hiding evidence by destroying the house. And that was one of the things we've talked about in the past, where it's just like we could have done a walkthrough there and that could have been beneficial, but somehow they determined that it wouldn't have been beneficial for the jury to do it. And I'm not a fan of them taking down the house. I don't think it was the responsible thing to do for, multitude of reasons, especially like, what about a universe where he's convicted not guilty? Like now we don't even have the house to look back on. I don't know if you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on that, but
Oh no, I agree 100%. But their argument is that, and we get some really, I'm not going to say nasty, I'm going to say heartfelt comments. Oh, they don't need the house because they have the LiDAR and all the other recreations. No, if I'm on the jury, I want to see the scene. And yes,
yeah.
we get comments. Oh, juries never go. Yes, they do. Yes, juries do go and do what's called a view, and there are rules about views. And the attorneys are allowed to go and kind of take part in the thing and observe the thing. And in some jurisdictions, they're allowed to point things out. In other jurisdictions, it all goes through the judge. But yes, they do views. And yeah, in my opinion, it's pretty shady that they took the place down. I think it's pretty shady.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, too, it's completely different. The furniture's obviously was out of the house anyway, but just the experience of like seeing a house, like seeing like a replica of a house, even if it's to scale, it's never going to be the same thing as walking through a house, hearing the steps, going onto the second floor, and hearing people on the first floor still being able to talk and stuff. That does so much.
Yeah, like think about it. I mean, yeah, you can if you're looking for a house now, it's easy. You can go online and see all the, pictures, the living room, the dining room, the yard, but the realtors, and I'm not on a tirade against realtors. I know some very nice realtors, but they always try to clean the place up and make it look really nice. I mean, you don't want to sell a dump now if it's an as is, if it's a fixer upper, but my point is that when you take a video, you're showing a point of view. You're showing a point of view. And, it's true that if the defense has a recreation, they can't show it to the jury unless the prosecutors sign off on it and vice versa. So that's true. But it's just my point originally, and I've gotten a little bit off track here, is when you look at a house online, you don't get the same feel as when you walk through that house. You have to go there and get do I really want to live here? How does it feel walking from the living room to the bedrooms to the basement? You want the feel of the place, and all the LiDARs in the world. Nuh-uh.
Well, even like something, this is like a little crazy, but we've talked about, the potential smell. It's just like, what if even just walking through the house, you smell that? It's just like even stuff like that. I mean, hearing people like no amount of emulation you're not gonna hear the cracks when you walk down and up the stairs. It's not the same.
And if the first attacks occurred up on the third floor with Kaylee and Maddie, how come the people down on the second floor? How come Xana and Ethan didn't hear it? And how come Dylan didn't hear more than what she said? I mean, if Dylan did hear what she did hear, why didn't Ethan and Xana hear anything? That's one of the reasons that some people say that Ethan and Xana were actually the first, and they were the targeted earlier in the evening, and then the second crew came in and did the attacks on Kaylee and Maddie. So it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But it's the other thing I'll never believe, and I know we'll get comments about it, but I'll just never believe the way it happened, that somebody's going up and down those creaky stairs, and people that had lived in that party house before said you could hear everything. You could hear everything. So why isn't the jury getting a chance to go into that house? It just makes no sense. We agree with you, Linda Raymond.
Yeah, and we talk about we don't talk about this, but it's just like even the newer houses are a lot less like soundproofed than a lot of the older houses. And my house was built in the 80s, and it's creaky for a multitude of reasons, but even just walking into my room, it's just like I'll take a step on the floor and there's like one particular spot that creaks extra bad when I step on it. And it's relatively new house, but there's just so many different things. Like you said, is like people said that you can hear things. It's like if I'm upstairs, I can hear the conversations of people. I've definitely been in the
Yeah.
basement listening to people talking upstairs in the kitchen. It's, it's interesting. It's
Yep.
weird.
We agree with you, Linda.
Yeah. So I have our last comment today is from Kelly Dompian. What kind of town is that? Who gets a U-Haul and empties an active crime scene? And did anyone see the witness video saying she saw Dylan and Emma and Dee and 2 other males outside that morning at 8:30 smoking like nothing ever happened? Very sketchy. And the U-Haul was
Yeah.
definitely a key point on this, where the whole thing just seemed so crazy. And we always, I don't know the witness video, but I know that we've often talked about how there was seemingly people outside smoking and going in and out and all those other people. And God, the idea that you wouldn't, like, if you were remotely aware and you wouldn't call law enforcement immediately is horrifying to me.
Yeah, we've heard. Yes, I've seen the comments. Didn't you see this? Didn't you hear that? Didn't you? Yeah, it's been erased. No. You know what? No. I mean, show me the video. Don't tell me somebody else has it. Don't tell me somebody else erased it. Show me the video, because if it existed, it would have been sent to 100,000 million different people, and they would all still have it on their computers or phones or whatever. So, yeah, where's the video of Dylan and Emma outside that morning at 8:30 a.m. smoking pot like nothing happened? Yeah. Although the first part of the comment, yeah, what kind of a town is that? Where the police chief himself backed a U-Haul. We talked about this in that episode with Lucky. We were both just scratching our heads. I mean, it was an active crime scene at that time. The investigation wasn't done. The suspect that they hadn't been arrested in Pennsylvania. And the police chief backs up the U. Oh yeah, we're going to give the families back their possessions because they want their possessions. Well, that's okay, that's fine. But I mean, yeah, no.
The U-Haul strikes me as a little extra crazy. We've mentioned this before, but it's just like, would you not have just like a police van, like police van or two? Like the U-Haul is very I mean, obviously they determined that the stuff was in evidence. How do you even determine that the stuff is in evidence? Oh my gosh. It's like I could go on about the whole U-Haul situation. I mean, it kind of ties just back into the house, where it just feels like, we had this, yeah, we had
It's
a
nutty.
perfect, basically, image, a perfect painting of what, well, I was gonna say what state the house was left in, but truly we don't, because of the alleged, cleanup attempts and latent footprints and all this crazy stuff. So, and this ties back into, we don't know everything that happened, and there is a lot of speculation, but a lot of that speculation is the result of the gag order. And it's just like even for example, I keep bringing back to the Karen Reed case, but we had a general idea of a lot of the things that they were going to be talking about. Nobody could ever foresee these text messages popping out, but the more you try to hide things, the more people are going to speculate. Why are we destroying evidence? Obviously, I'm sure the parents would find comfort in having some of their stuff, but having someone's belongings is not having the person, and it's not going to give you closure, especially when the case is still ongoing.
And here we have the police chief himself. I mean, I said it before, but it bears repeating that I live in a relatively small town, but even they have an evidence van. I mean, most police departments have an evidence van or some kind of a vehicle, or they could have rented some kind of a more formal type of a vehicle, but just have the police chief himself. Don't they have a chief detective? Don't they have a evidence room supervisor? Don't they have? I mean, it just shows that the whole operation was rinky dink. That's all.
Yeah. And we're, waiting to see what's going to come out of this case, what information is going to come out. I mean, even with, I keep going back to Karen Reed, but you would have thought this investigation was done appropriately, and then it just turns out that, there were a lot of blunders. So what kind of blunders? What happened in this? At the end of the day, we're all human. Nobody's going to do their job 100% perfect 100% of the time, but especially in a scenario like this where, how often is there quadruple homicide? There's obviously procedure that needs to be followed, but it's hard for humans to do it. Obviously, as professionals, you should be doing things appropriately, but things happen.
Yep, I agree. So I want to hear more comments about the Karen Reed case. What's going on with the Karen Reed case? Do you think it will really be retried? What do you think of the developments since the case was over, with jurors coming forward and saying they were unanimous on 2 of the counts, including the really big count, the second-degree murder case? But also I'd like to hear more comments about the Sandra Birchmore case. We're working on a couple of things on that case, and we'll do more. It's a case that's it's been swept under the rug in Massachusetts, and it requires a lot more attention. And so I'd like to know what people think of the Sandra Birchmore case and what other cases are out there. There's some other cases that are kind of percolating out there that we would like to do episodes on. So let us know other cases that you would like us to take a look at, even if it's a short. Let us know.
Yeah, definitely take a look at our previous videos and give us your comments and commentary on that. As you probably have gathered from watching this video, seeing what you guys are saying helps us think about and expand the case. And also your comments do definitely help push this information more out to the public and help spread it. So thank you for the comments. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for contributing. And thank you guys for always watching our videos and continuing to support us.
Yeah, I agree. And so I guess with that, we'll remind people to, Lainey, you didn't remind me to do the banners.
It's like as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, we didn't do the banners. I said, pull them out.
We haven't done the banners. We have to do our banners, and we have to remind people to please be sure to comment down below. We love your comments, but whether you're in the grocery store or whether you are in the parking garage or the gas station, please be kind to people. You know what? Because you don't know what other people are going through. They might be having some things going on in their life, and so be kind to people. Be kind to us in the comments. Again, I said it before in this episode, but it's really nice that we have comments. We don't always agree, but we even read them. We read the ones we don't agree with, and as I've said before, I've actually gotten some good ideas from people when we're doing our 5 flag episodes or our 4 flag episodes, or we did 5 dark clouds hanging over the Karen Reed case. So if we're doing dark clouds or whatever, we get ideas from you. So please don't hesitate to do. We just ask that you don't personalize it, because you know what, it's just, there's no need for it. We got a ton of great comments about Lucky. I didn't understand why one person didn't like it, but we got rid of that one. And not because they didn't like him, but because it's personalizing it. And so, you know what? So thanks a lot for joining us. You have been watching About the Law, a production of the law offices of Andrew D. Myers in Methuen in the Merrimack Valley of Massachusetts, and in Derry, just outside of Manchester, New Hampshire. Remember to click the like and subscribe buttons down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to share it with your friends and others. If you'd like to talk to me about an injury case, a car accident, a slip and fall, a serious bodily injury case, or some other case, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to talk to you. You can contact us through my website at attorney-myers.com. We have a contact us block, or you can call on one of the telephone numbers we've given there, or you can email me at andrew@attorney-myers.com. The foregoing is offered for informational purposes only. It is not intended as and does not constitute legal advice. Laws vary widely from state to state.
You should rely only on the advice given to you during a personal consultation by a local attorney thoroughly familiar with state laws and the area of practice in which your concern lies. This podcast must be and hereby is labeled advertisement in some jurisdictions.
And
And
that's
that's that.
that. What a case. What a case. What comments. Oh, thank you guys for supporting us, you weirdos.
Yeah,
I think that
really. I mean,
comment. I cut you
well,
off.
where does the weirdos thing come in? I mean, we're just, this whole thing in America right now that we're just so divided over everything that, reasonable people can't disagree without saying they're stupid or you're not thinking or you're dumb or, I mean, I don't want to get into the political thing. I don't want to get into politics at all, but why is it that, just because somebody supports one point of view or one political candidate, all the other people are horrible, terrible, awful people, and they feel the need to demonize them and say how they, it's just, it makes no sense to me. It really makes no sense to me. Not that it's ever been any, people say America is so divided now. It's been divided my whole life. My whole life, America has been divided. It just needs to calm the hell down.
It's
But
the
it's not
song,
gonna happen.
We Didn't Start the Fire, like 20, 30 years old at this point. Like, it's just, since the world's been turning.
Crazy,
Oh my
crazy, crazy, crazy.
goodness.
So say whatever you want, people, but don't tell us we're crazy because we are.
Thank you guys.
We know it. We know we are.
See, it's just like Andrew always says, it's just like, if it's personalized, we kick it to the curb, and here you are calling us weirdos, and I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Like this is someone that doesn't agree with it. It's not particularly too offensive. Like, we'll bring it in just to show you guys are not totally ruling with
Like,
an iron hammer. But
like I've had Yoli on a lot lately. We've had Yoli, and most people just really like her. They really, really, really like her. We're glad to see you here. Hey, Yoli, and they give her the hearts and everything like that. But I think we had one person that kind of railed against her too. Why do you have her on? Well, because she's smart. That's why. And she reads a lot. She knows a lot about these cases. And actually, she's way out in Southern California, and she had not followed the Karen Reed case at all. But so we did an episode on it, and she read up on it. And I think she knows more about it now than a lot of people in Massachusetts, because she's very smart. She's really a good. She's a good read. She has a lot of ability to catch up on stuff and make an intelligent commentary. So most people liked her, but we got that one, and that's why I say don't personalize it, because you're wasting your time. Because you can disagree with any of us. You can disagree with me. You can disagree with Yoli. You can disagree with Lucky. But just, there's a way to say, like the comment we had about destroying the house. I mean, you can agree or disagree with us, but don't say you're stupid because you think that. I've just never understood why people. It's kind of like being on a schoolyard when you're in 5th grade. That's what you do. But then, you advance to middle school and high school, and you learn not to be like that.
I've mentioned this before. It's like difference between the people on the internet and the people that are gonna say things to your face is we can't punch someone over something they said on the internet, really. It's just like it's like the human decency sometimes goes out the door, but we appreciate that 99% of you guys keep it civil, keep it kind, even if you agree or disagree with us. Shout out to everybody who treats people like people. We love that.
All right, it's a beautiful day here, so I'm going to go out and go for a hike this afternoon. What are you doing this afternoon?
Oh gosh, I'm going to I'm just gonna say like the plant store, because it's a chain that I don't think really exists outside of New England. Osborne's. We're gonna go get some wood pellets for the smoker, hopefully. Maybe
There
find
you
some
go.
herbs if they still have anything. I know the gardening season's pretty much coming towards an
Yeah.
end as we're in July, but we'll see what they have. And
Yeah, there's
enjoy
not a
them.
lot out there. I was looking for some chives, because I heard that repels rabbits. The rabbits are
Mhm.
eating my garden, and so I looked, and you're right. There's really not a lot available, but it's worth looking, because you never know. They had a lot of tomatoes. I guess people didn't buy their tomatoes this year, but it's kind
Mhm.
of late to be planting them now, because they may not get very far. But I know I have a friend that like replanted some stuff that the rabbits had eaten, and then the rabbits ate those too. So
I wish, I don't have my own personal garden here. I have a little area that I can do some gardening in, but we don't get that many rabbits here. I'm a little bit jealous, but not jealous that they're eating your
Oh,
stuff. You're gonna
we
have
have
to.
we have 1,000,000 rabbits. Oh, there are so many rabbits, and I don't like rabbits.
You'll have to go to the grocery store and get some chives from there, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh, when you have your onions and you don't use them within a few months or a few weeks, and they start sprouting, and you got a little
Yeah.
experiment going on.
You can actually plant those in the garden. I've done that, but it's yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the bunny repellent. But yeah, thank you guys so much for
right.
watching and enjoy your summer. Have a nice day, guys.
All right, Lainey, have a good one.